Okay, so in this lecture, we're going to be talking about channel design. And for this, we're going to go back to the concept of uniform flow. So whenever we design a channel, we're designing it for the uniform flow case. Later on, we can get to cases where we might not be in uniform flow and how we might change the channel then. But in general, most channels we're assuming are going to be in uniform flow throughout most of their length. So we might use this when we're designing a roadside ditch for a road project, or a canal, or some sort of channel within a treatment facility or something like that. And so we go back to our Manning's equation, which is Q equals 1.49 over N A R to the 2/3 S sub 0 to the 1/2. And the question is, when we're designing a channel, what are we actually designing? What do we actually have control over? Typically, we're designing the cross-sectional shape, the cross-section, which in our case for this equation is AR to the 2/3. Now, often in these problems, we are constrained by, we're given a flow rate that we need to convey. So we're given a flow rate, we're going to have to choose a channel material, or sometimes we're just carving that channel material out of the earth. And so N is usually constrained. Our slope, S sub 0, is often constrained as well, in that we have a place we need to go from and a place we need to go to, and there's a certain distance between those points, and they have a certain elevation difference, and so the slope is what it is. We have a little control over it, which I'll explain in a little bit, but for the most part, that's constrained. So our goal in the design is for, we have a given Q, but really we're trying to build our channel as small as possible to convey that Q. The assumption is the bigger the channel is, the more we have to excavate, or the more we have to construct, the more expensive it's going to be. And so we'd like to sort of minimize the size of the channel, but still be able to convey the flow rate we need to within that size. So our goal is to maximize Q for a given N, S sub 0, and area. Or another way of thinking about it is to minimize the area for a given flow, S sub 0 and N. And the way we're going to do that is by maximizing R to the 2/3. Because if our cross-section is AR to the 2/3, if we look at sort of that part of the equation, if we get this to be as big as we can, if N and S sub 0 are fixed, we want to get AR to the 2/3 as big as we can to get Q as big as we can. But we, at the same time, want our cross-sectional area, to be as small as possible, to make it as cheap as possible. So the consequence of that is we need R to the 2/3 to be really big. And if you think about what R to the 2/3 is, that's equal to area over wetted perimeter to the 2/3. Again, we want to minimize A, but if we want R to the 2/3 to be as big as possible, we also need to minimize P sub W. Which makes some sense, right? We want as little wetted perimeter as possible, so we have as little frictional effects going on as possible. So we can use some calculus to figure out what are the dimensions of such a channel that would do all this, and your book goes through some of that derivation. We're going to skip through to the results of it and say, for just a rectangular channel and a trapezoidal channel, what would be the dimensions? How do I actually design these channels? And then I'll show you where you can go for other kinds of channels. So actually, in theory, if you work out the math, it turns out that a semicircle cross-section is actually the most efficient shaped cross-section if you do the math. However, it's very difficult to construct a semicircular cross-sectional channel. Whether you're dredging a channel out of the ground, excavating it, or whether you're constructing it out of concrete, it's difficult to achieve this. And so we often use rectangular, trapezoidal, triangular channels instead. And so we're going to look at, if you were constrained to those shapes, what would you get? So it turns out that the math says it occurs when y, the depth, is equal to 2r, 2 times the hydraulic radius. And another way of saying that is r equals y over 2. And for a rectangular channel, we'll draw it down here. Here's y, our depth, and here's b. It turns out in order to get y equals 2r, you need b to equal 2y. Okay? So when you set b equal to 2y, the cross-sectional area becomes b times y, which b is 2y, so we get 2y, y. And then that would be equal to 2y squared, which is the same as b squared over 2, because b is 2y, so you put a 2y up here for b, and you get 4y squared over 2, or 2y squared. Okay? And then the wetted perimeter is the base, b, plus 2y, but b is equal to 2y, so we get 2y plus 2y, which is equal to 4y. And thus our hydraulic radius, which is area over wetted perimeter, is equal to 2y squared over 4y. So this goes away, and we wind up with y over 2, which is what we started with up here, right? R equals y over 2. And that's also equal to b over 4. Because y is equal to b over 2. And so we put b over 2 in there and divide it by 2, and we get b over 4. Okay? So if we were designing a rectangular channel, if we want the most efficient cross-section, we need to set the channel width equal to 2 times the uniform flow depth, or the normal depth. The area winds up being b squared over 2, and the wetted perimeter winds up being 4y, so r is equal to b over 4. And we'll see in an example problem how we can plug in these things we know, b over 4 and b squared over 2, to solve for what b would be in Manning's equation up here for a rectangular channel, most efficient cross-section. Okay, so we'll do the example problem on the next page. But let's go through a trapezoidal channel first. Again, the math still says y equals 2r. The depth has to be 2 times the hydraulic radius, or r equals y over 2. And so when we do that for a trapezoidal channel, we find that b equals 2y over root 3. I need my base to be 2y over root 3, which is the same thing as 2 root 3 over 3y, in order to achieve this condition of y equals 2r, which is my most efficient cross-sectional channel shape. It turns out my a then has to be square root of 3y squared, and my my wetted perimeter, is 2 root 3y, And thus my hydraulic radius is area over wetted perimeter, which is equal to square root 3y squared over 2 root 3y. And that really reduces down to y over 2 again, which is our constraint at the top in the first place. And here's my trapezoidal channel down here with depth y, base b, and then we've got also on this side here the side slope, which is 1 over m. And so for the most efficient cross section, m is equal to root 3 over 3. And we can think of that in angular terms. This angle, the side angle theta, happens to be 60 degrees. Okay, so again, we're going to go through an example problem in a minute where we'll set up Manning's equation. We're designing the channel, so we know Q, we know N, we know S sub 0, and we're trying to pick the shape of the channel, which for a rectangular channel is really just the width. The depth is going to be what it is. We're choosing the depth so that all of this works out. I mean the width. Yeah. For a trapezoidal channel, we can design that side slope angle, but also the width b. And so we'll plug into Manning's equation these relationships we just came up with. This one for area and wetted perimeter, or R. We'll solve for, in this case, y in the trapezoidal channel, and then based on y we can define b from this equation up here. B equals 2y over square root 3. Okay, so in your book there's table 5.1.3. Let's see, there it is. And in that table, if you pause the video and look at it, you can see the best hydraulic sections for trapezoidal, rectangular, triangular, semicircle, parabola, and hydrostatic catenary. Really, trapezoid, rectangle, and triangle are mostly what we use. And you can see relationships for the area, the wetted perimeter, the hydraulic radius, the top width, and then the depth, or the hydraulic depth. You can ignore the hydraulic depth. We don't really use that parameter very much. Okay, so that's our channel design, but there's a few other things we usually have to take into account. For earthen channels particularly, so ditches on the side of the road, or sort of other kind of ditches that we're using to convey water. One is the side slope. So depending on what soils you have, if you have a really sandy soil, the side slope is not going to be stable if it's fairly vertical. And so we can have constraints on the side slope. So what we say is that M may need to be greater for stability, for example, in sandy soils. And then we might have another constraint, which is the maximum velocity. We might have a V max specified to minimize erosion. And when that happens, we can say calculate a minimum cross-sectional area, A min, as Q over V max. And then if we get through our channel design and our minimum and our cross-sectional area is less than our minimum cross-sectional area, we know our velocity is going to be higher than the specified max, and we have to redesign the channel. So we'll go through that in an example problem in the next video.